Hi, I'm Sarah, and in this video I'm going to be showing you everything that I sewed this summer. And this is Fergus. He's visiting. I'm a new sewer. I began sewing this summer in earnest, and I've been really applying myself and just really enjoying the process of learning a new skill. And also, it's just really fun to be able to make the stuff that I've been sewing. So I've got a couple different categories of garments that I've been learning how to make, and I'm going to show you them all, and then I'll also record clips of me trying everything on, and I'll insert those into the video too. And I'll talk you through everything that went right and everything that went wrong and what I thought of all the patterns that I used. So to begin, I made 2 pairs of jeans at the very beginning of the summer. I'd just taken a class where I learned how to make jeans, and in that class I made the Daughter Judy trousers. And they came out great. I made 2 pairs of trousers. They're wonderful. That was kind of in the spring, so I didn't include them in this video. But I'll pop in some quick pictures of those. And then after the class, I came home. I bought another Daughter Judy pattern because the trouser just fit me beautifully with very few adjustments. So I bought the worship jeans, and I made 2 pairs of those. This was the first pair. See if I can do it without disturbing little Fergus. This is the first pair that I made. I chose the boot cut variant, and I'll put in a clip of me wearing them now. This pattern has a dipped rise in the front. I used this sort of amber top stitching thread. I used some gingham for the pockets. And these do not fit me very well. I thought that I think that for the trousers I just got really lucky in that cut really suited me. I have proportionally quite large thighs, and so when I put these on, they only made it about halfway up my legs. I had modified them and actually taken a bit of width out of the thigh so that I could do a flat felt seam. And yeah, that didn't help me. So I wore them a little bit. They were also gapping really bad at the back of the waistband. I wore them a little bit to see because everyone said that they were very tight when you first finished them. And I measured myself. I made the size that was recommended. They were very large on me in the waist and really small in the thighs. And after wearing them around for a day or two, struggling to put one leg in front of the other, I decided I needed to ease out as much as possible in the thighs and see if that would help with the waist. So I did that. I managed to get about 3/4 of an inch extra total. I narrowed my outer thigh seam and my flat felt seam on the inside. It's a little bit messy now. Yeah, you can see that. So now it's just a bit messy, but it does actually fit on me now, which is good. But when I did that, the jeans were able to come up further, and then they were just so much bigger in the waist. It was ridiculous. You could see right down the back when I sat down. So I removed the waistband and I swapped it out for a curved waistband. The one from the trousers that I had just made, which fit me really well. And that worked out. And now they fit okay. They're still a little tight in the thigh and a little bit big in the waist. They're not the most comfortable, but I think that if I made this pair of jeans in a fabric with a bit of stretch, they would turn out fine. So I wouldn't say that this was a total success, but it was a very interesting process, and I really enjoyed sewing with this fabric. This pair worked up so easily. I had a great time sewing, and I feel like I got a lot better with my stitch spacing when I was sewing these. Like I did all this top stitching on the back pockets, and I think that went really well. And I love the color of the top stitching thread. And I think I also got better at the waistband. The waistbands have always really intimidated me, and I found them so difficult to sew. I think doing a practice with a bit of a lighter weight denim was really helpful in just getting the confidence and the skills to sew through many layers of thickish fabric. And now I'm not finding that as difficult as I was before. And I'm about to make another pair of sort of jean adjacent trousers. So I feel much more prepared going into that now. The second pair I made was also from the Worship jeans pattern, but I lengthened the rise by an inch because I wanted them to be high rise. And I just cut in the middle of the rise and added an inch in there. I didn't like do any extra tapering or anything. And I made these shorts. I really wanted a pair of longish shorts for the summer. I wanted them to be so comfortable and I wanted to make them myself. So that was my intention. It's the same fabric. I managed to squeeze out this pair of shorts, which was pretty exciting. And these also sewed up really fast. These are too big for me, but they're so comfortable. I wore them non-stop during the summer. They don't look very good. They're kind of baggy. I have to belt them. But God, are they comfortable. So it's a total success. And I didn't hem the bottoms because I kept having to cut them to be shorter. I thought that I was making a pair of shorts, but then when I put them on, they were past my knees. I guess I totally misgauged the amount of leg length I would need. So I don't know, I think it's kind of cool to have the raw hem. I have an extra line of top stitching here because I didn't catch the zipper guard with where you're supposed to catch it. So I just added an extra line in and I think it looks really cool. And I love them. I also really played around with the stitches, decorative stitches on my machine on the back pockets. I didn't really like the way that it looked initially, but I just decided I would go with it and just, you know, don't worry too much about it all. And I actually think that it's kind of neat on the shorts. So yeah, oh, I also use the curved waistband for these. I don't think that the straight waistband works for me, and I don't know. I think I'll stick to the curved waistband now that I know that it works. I really like the pockets. I like the little coin pocket, and I think they're so cool. It's very exciting to be able to make a pair of jeans for myself. Saying that, I don't know if this pattern is the exact pattern that is like my ideal jeans pattern, but I haven't made the other view. There's a boot cut view, but there's also a cigarette trouser view. So I think I'm gonna try and make that one. I also bought some denim with a little bit of spandex in it, and I think that would make the boot cut variant a viable option for me as a larger thighed person. I really want to sew another pair of jeans, but now I kind of have enough. Now it's really just for me with the blue denim jeans because I have enough pairs now. I mean, you don't need that many pairs of jeans, do you? That's the problem. They're kind of fun to sew. So that's for me to figure out in the future when sewing that pair of jeans is higher up on my to-do list. The next thing that I sewed was a midi skirt cut on the bias. I love wearing these. I have 2 store-bought midi skirts cut on the bias, although actually, I don't know if they're actually cut on the bias, but I have 2 similar sort of slinky midi skirts. Sorry, you can't see, but my cat is on my lap and he is digging in. So I really wanted to make a midi skirt. I went to the fabric store near me. I live in Philadelphia, so I went to Fleischmann's and I got this fabric, which I think is some sort of viscose. It's really slippery and slinky, and I love it. And I sewed up this midi skirt. Oh, that's the seam. This fabric was honestly a nightmare to cut. It is so stretchy on the bias and like slippery. I think that it got pulled when I was cutting one of the sides because one of the pieces, when I laid them both out flat, I cut the fabric just on my carpet in this room. I don't have a better place to cut the fabric. And I have like a rotary cutter and a mat, but I also have scissors, obviously. And I still have not perfected how to cut a difficult fabric, but I really did not do a good job for this because when I laid the pieces out, one of them was about 4 inches narrower and 4 inches longer than the other. And I had double checked when I was cutting, but I guess for one of the cuts, the fabric was just had a bit more tension on it in one direction. So I just cut the extra length off of the bottom and went about my day. This is not my best piece of sewing. It's got a zip. It was my first non-jean zipper. I know that I went about this in a sort of backwards way and that a lot of people are intimidated by jeans, but I find that anything that you can iron the crap out of is actually pretty friendly for sewing. I think also it helped that I did a class first to teach me how to make jeans. So I wasn't too scared of it because I had someone I could ask whenever I needed help. But this was my first foray into sewing with a more difficult fabric. I'm sure I've shown the clip by now. I love this skirt. It does not look good. It is not well sewn. I would say I learned a lesson. I don't know if I could do it better if I tried again now, but it's such a good skirt to have. I really like the pattern. It's really pretty, and it goes with everything. I love the way it feels. It's really lightweight. I wear it over a pair of shorts when it's hot. I'm sure when it gets cold, I'll be wearing it over tights. And it was such a big success. This was supposed to be a toile for another skirt that I actually sewed up a few weeks ago in a fancier fabric. But after sewing this, I was kind of like, I didn't nail that. I think I need to try again. And it also doesn't fit that well. It's like a little bit small in the hips and big in the waist, and it kind of bunches up. But I thought that that might just be because I did such a poor job at cutting the parts. So I just knew that I needed to give that pattern another go before I did any adjustments. So I did give that pattern another go, but it's a little bit more of a complicated story, so I will come around to that in a minute. After sewing the midi skirt, I started sewing t-shirts. It was so hot in Philadelphia. I grew up in Scotland, and I am not accustomed to the heat. And I feel like I lose all of my sense of style in the summer because I'm just fighting for survival. So I thought it would be really cool to be able to make t-shirts. And so I made t-shirts. I made many. It was a process of learning how to work with stretch fabrics. And what I learned is that every stretch fabric is different and needs to be sewn with differently. So really the learning process was how to figure out what to do in a quicker and less frustrating manner, rather than just how to do it. So I'll run you through quite quickly all of the t-shirts that I made. My cat is no longer sitting on my lap. So I took a one-day class at the local sewing school on how to sew t-shirts, but it ended up more being a tutorial on how to work with a serger, which I don't have. So that was very interesting, and I made a t-shirt in that class, but I didn't really feel like I learned very much about how to make it work on my machine. And I'm not gonna buy a serger anytime soon because, you know, I have one big clunky machine in my house. I need to be in much deeper before I would get another. And my machine has a lot of finishing stitches, and I have that foot that has the prongs that let you wrap around the edge. And one of the finishing stitches is an elasticated stitch. It sort of makes like a loopy loop, and that is stretchy. So it's been really useful in sewing with knits. I bought a couple fabrics from Blackbird I think about a year ago at this point, and this was one of them. It's their ribbed, I think it's a polyester. It was not very expensive, and it was so frustrating to figure out because everything made this pucker. I have since discovered that if you let it sit for like a week. A lot of the puckers just sort of work themselves out, but I tried a bunch of different zigzags to try and find which one didn't make this pucker, and I found quite a loose zigzag that worked really nicely with this fabric. The pattern that I used for almost all of the t-shirts that I've sewn is the Rio Ringer Tee by True Bias, I think. I've modified every single one of them to be not cut in at the waist, so it has a boxier fit, and I've cropped all of them. And I haven't been doing the cuffs at the bottom of the sleeve. I've tried a couple times and it always looks weird. So I've ended up cutting all of those off or not doing them in the first place. But the base pattern is the Rio Ringer Tee. So this is the first one. It came out really good. So after sewing that one, I put in an order to buy some more jersey fabric. And I wanted to try and get some that was cotton, not polyester or rayon or bamboo, because I thought it might be easier to work with. And I was right. So I bought this Pointelle cotton. You can see it's the same pattern, same modifications. I love this shirt. It was so much easier to work on. And I think it came together in about 3 hours, which is great. I wear this a lot. Big success. I really like the Pointelle, although it's a heavier fabric, so it's a bit warmer. In that same order, I'm just buying 3/4 yard of each of these fabrics, and I've always been in the habit of just washing in the way that I plan on washing whatever garment I make, and I tend to wash all my clothes on cold anyway, unless it's like very dirty. So I just didn't even think. So I threw these fabrics in the wash together, and the 2 whites came out pink. I was so upset, but I just sewed them up anyway because, I mean, what am I gonna do? Not sew them? So these 2 are ribbed fabrics, which I thought I would try, but they're a very fine rib. It's not my neatest work, but it's okay. This red fabric is a bit less fine of a rib. This was one of the ones that I did try and do the sleeve cuffs on, and they looked horrible. So I cut those off and re-hemmed them. I used the twin needle for everything. There are places where it's a little bit puckered. You can see, just a little, but I think it's fine, and it's very wearable, and it's a nice t-shirt. I love wearing red. So that's my next t-shirt. I'm gonna breeze through these kind of quickly. This is a white rib. I'd originally gotten this fabric to maybe use as the rib neckline on some other t-shirts, but then when I accidentally dyed it like this light pink color, which I'm not sure if it will come across on camera, I just decided to turn it into a shirt in its own right. So this one is next. And then I'd also bought this cotton interlock, which sounded really cool. I'm interested in learning about different types of fabric, but this is extremely see-through. So I made it into a t-shirt. I haven't worn it yet. I only sewed it up 2 weeks ago, and I don't really know what the plan is. Like, when I wear this, you can see everything. It's like I'm not wearing a shirt. So maybe as a layer, but it fits nicely. And, you know, now I know. This one I finished with a twin needle. You know, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I'm happy with these. So that's that t-shirt. The last t-shirt I have to show you is different. It's a different pattern. I cut this based off of a linen knit t-shirt that I bought secondhand, and I've worn it into the ground. I love it. It's like a drop shoulder with no sleeves, and it's sort of a wider neck. So I cut this, which is a hemp knit, based on that t-shirt, so you can see the shape. And I really, really love this t-shirt. I did a bound neck because this doesn't have a huge amount of elasticity, and it's a bit of a wider neck. And I'm also always a bit worried, like, if I'm drafting my own t-shirt pattern, I don't know how long to make the piece that goes at the neck, because I don't want it to pucker, but I really don't want it to gape. And so I just did like a thin strip and then bound this neckline in. And it was the most stressful hour of sewing, that I've done, because all of the ends were wanting to pop out. But I'm really happy with this, and I really love to wear this. I want to make another couple of t-shirts based on this shape, and I would make the armholes a little bigger. It's also got scooped hem, which it's quite subtle, the scooped hem. But yeah, this is a total win, and I love to wear linen and hemp. So that was all of the t-shirts that I've made. I'm a little bit sick of sewing with stretchy fabric, so I've moved on. Maybe I'll come back to it for some long sleeves when it gets a bit colder. But my next thing that I wanted to learn was the button-down shirt. I wear a lot of button-down shirts, and I just thought it would be so cool to know how to make them. I'm very scared of buttonholes, but I've been tackling that fear face on. So here are the two shirts I made. The pattern that I used was the assembly line oversized shirt from the assembly line. It's called the oversized shirt from the assembly line, and it's an oversized button-down shirt. I thought that it wasn't a size inclusive pattern, but I actually think that I just got the paper pattern and I only got the smaller half of the size range. I'm new, so I think it actually is a size inclusive pattern. I followed an extremely useful sew along video from the YouTube channel The Big Sew Along. I highly recommend. I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. The original pattern has all of the pieces for a burrito method, but for some reason doesn't use the burrito method. Don't know why. But in this pattern, the person making the video shows you how to do that. So I did the burrito method. You can see that's the inside, that's the outside. I omitted the hanging tab because I didn't want to do it. I used this green linen that I had in stash. I bought it from Blackbird, I think in the same order that I bought the jerseys in almost a year ago. And it's gorgeous. I love this color. I love this shirt. I changed the front placket and I added sleeve plackets to this because I read reviews, and the reviews said that the way that this pattern finishes, the opening at the bottom of the sleeve isn't very good and has the possibility of unraveling because it's just folded over. So I wanted to try and not have it unravel. So I found a very useful tutorial online for a sleeve placket, and I did my best trying to sew that. I used these beautiful shell buttons that I got at Approved Textiles in Philadelphia. The person who, I guess it's two people who I've seen who own and work at that shop are so nice, and I always go in and I'm such a mess. And a couple weeks ago, I was helping my friend flyer for a show that they were putting on in the Philly Fringe, and I went in there to get some buttons, and I left my phone in there, but I didn't notice until we'd flyered all the way down South Street, and I got home and I couldn't find my phone. And I turned off the Find My Phone feature because I'd had the battery replaced in my phone about 2 weeks earlier. So then my friend had to leave, so they went home, and I ran back all the way, like a mile and a half. I went into every shop that we'd put flyers in and was looking for my phone, and I found it in Approved Textiles. And when I got there, like 10 minutes before they closed, the person was like, "Oh, I'm so relieved that you're back. I didn't notice you'd left this until just a moment ago," because I've been calling. Well, my friend had called it before they had to leave. And then the person was so nice. He was like, "Would you like a drink? You look like you need to sit down," because I'd been running. And that was very exciting. I feel bonded to that guy now. He was wearing the most beautiful pair of shot silk trousers in this green and black, and they were so nice. You should, if you live nearby, you should check that shop out. All of their fabric is very fancy and expensive. So it's sort of out of my, I think I would need to get a lot better before I bought any fabric that's that fancy, but they have really nice buttons. They've got great like sashiko stuff and very Philly embroidery things. Like they have a outline of gritty and like eagle stuff. It's cute. So I got these buttons from there. Oh, shell buttons. And the buttonholer was a mixed bag. I had to rip out quite a few of them, but in the end, I got there. So that was my first experience sewing a button-down shirt. I wear this a good amount. It's not perfect. Like my placket it's just okay. The collar looks great. You know, sometimes I had to go an extra pass to make sure that I caught both sides, but that's part of learning. And my sleeve plackets actually came out good. I followed a different tutorial on how to put the sleeve plackets in because the one from the Big Sew Along, she just follows the instructions that are in the pattern for that step. So I will link both of those below. I don't think I used interfacing in the collar or the cuff because I wanted it to be just a soft, relaxed shirt, and I'm very happy with it. It's a great shirt. Oh, I think I shortened it by 6 inches. I'm regular height. I'm like in the 50th percentile, 5'5", and this would be a tunic length, a dress at its full length. And I think I'd need to grade out for the hips, but as it is shorter, it's a really nice long shirt length. So I finished this. I had a great time. I really enjoyed sewing it. I love sewing with linen or anything you can iron. And I also really enjoy very precise sewing. I'm not particularly good at it, but I enjoy the attempt. So I wanted to just make another shirt right away. And I had this fabric. I bought enough to make a pair of trousers and something else. And it's this wide wale corduroy. And I thought that would make a lovely shirt. So I made it. This was my second button-down shirt. It's in this corduroy. The colorway, it's from Blackbird. I also got this ages ago. The colorway was called Grotto, and it's this very dark blue-green. I really love it. I used pearl snap buttons because I was scared to do buttonholes on it. But then figuring out the whole pearl snap situation was such a hassle. I maybe would have just been better to do the buttonholes. I don't know, it came out great. And I wear this as an overshirt, but I also just wear this as a shirt sometimes. In this very in-between weather, sometimes it's nice to just have a quite warm shirt, but then a lot of it's open at the front. Like I'll keep it quite open and I'll just, you know, the neck's open and then I leave a couple buttons at the bottom open. And I love the way it looks, love the way it feels. I found working with the corduroy to be quite interesting because if you just sew in the ditch between the wales, is the wale the ditch or the part sticking out? Well, I found that if you sew in the ditches, the stitches are basically invisible. And so for the placket, I did the original placket in the pattern, which is just turning it over. It's not an extra piece, because I thought that that would be better for the snaps. It would be less fabric to go through. But then it didn't go so well with the sleeve placket. This is probably my worst sleeve placket, but it doesn't really matter. I also had a hard time with some of the snaps. I had to have a friend come over and put the snap at the top of the collar in because my hands weren't strong enough to do it. I also did the burrito method. It came out great. I also didn't put the hanging loop again. I don't want to hang a shirt by the middle of the back. I do think that it's cute, but I don't know, I just didn't really feel like doing it. I added a line of top stitching around the collar because it was a little difficult to get the sharpness that I wanted. And this is the original collar that comes in the pattern. I think they have like an expansion pack where you can use some different types of collars. I kind of like the idea of that, but I feel that it should come with the pattern. So I might try and draw my own extra collars if I want a really pronounced collar because I think that looks really cool. But I like this pattern. The instructions I found to be quite confusing. I was really glad that there was a sew along. But if you've made button-down shirts before, you'd probably be totally fine just doing it whatever way you usually do it. Unless you're using the video, I don't know if I'd recommend this to another beginner as your first shirt pattern. But the bonus of making an oversized shirt is that you really don't have to worry about fit because it's just going to be oversized. I think I made the extra large or the large, and you'll see in the clips that they both have a really nice oversized fit. So after I made those button-down shirts, I wanted to try and make some blouses and some dresses. This was really a decision that I made because I have a shortage of blouses in my wardrobe. I like to wear them. I used to get some from Madewell and Topshop back in the day, but Topshop doesn't exist anymore. And Madewell I don't really like what they've been selling for the past few years. So I thought I will sew myself some. And what better way to do it than to just sew the top of a dress, because then if I want, I can just make the dress. So I bought the Greenwood dress pattern by Les Perlines, and I sewed this top. All I did was lengthen, I think, the bodice pieces by about an inch because I wanted it to be a bit longer than the dress version. I also wanted to be able to hem it. I think I could have lengthened them even more, and I cut this. This was very convenient because I'd already made this skirt, and since this was cut on the bias, I had a lot of very large triangles left over, so I easily cut this out of the remaining pieces. The only piece that isn't easy to find is the facing piece, which is just a bit of an odd shape, but it was okay. This was hard to sew. The fabric is just like really drapey. It's so nice to wear, but it's such a pain in the ass to sew. But this is such a big success. I was very careful when cutting this because of what had happened with the skirt, and I love this top. It's got darts in it. Here, you can see them. Here's one. Darts at the front, there's also darts at the back. And I put snaps in because I have a bunch of snaps left over. And I really like this. I wear this a lot. It's so comfortable. It's really lightweight and flowy, and I think it looks really nice. So that was a huge success. I finished it. I was worried that it wouldn't fit because it looks small to me. It doesn't look that small on the camera, but it looked small to me. But it does. It fits beautifully. So then I sewed another one. I had this fabric. It's a cotton block print, and I had a bit less of this fabric. So I instead of making it longer, I don't think I lengthened it at all. And instead of hemming at the bottom, I did like a little, what do you call it? Like a little facing at the bottom from a different strip of fabric. This was fun to sew, very easy because it's a cotton. I also put snaps on this. I really enjoy this one. It's a bit too cropped. I couldn't get quite as much length out of it, but I've been wearing this a lot, like so much. I have a bit of a tan line in the shape of these shirts. I wore them so much this summer, and I did the fluttery sleeve option for both of them. This was a huge success. I felt amazing. Oh, I pivoted the darts to be going sideways instead of going up and down, which is they're right there, and that worked really well. It fits nicely. I just thought that if they were going up and down, it might disrupt this pattern at the front, and I wanted to keep it. And I really like the pattern. It's sort of an orangey red. It's quite blue light from the window today because of all of the rain, but believe me, it's orangey red. After those two successes with the Greenwood dress pattern, I thought I'd make the dress. And this was not a success. This is my first failure. So I had this crinkly fabric, which I got on sale. I don't know if you can see the crinkles. The crinkles, you know, I don't really know. How are you supposed to sew with a crinkly fabric? Are you supposed to iron the crinkles out? Because the crinkles don't come back once you really iron them out. At least they don't come back evenly. And this was the issue that I had. I sort of ironed it because it was like really tight crinkles, and I couldn't cut all the pieces with it like that. So I ironed it a little bit, but then obviously I didn't do a very good job of ironing it evenly. So when I took the pieces downstairs to sew, I ironed it more, but then they were like totally the wrong shape. So I cut them down, and then I sewed the dress, and then I put it on and it looked horrible. It was just way too wide at the top. And it was so long in the body, which was confusing to me because the other tops that I'd made were, if anything, a little short in the body. So I was confused. I kept trying it on. I tried it on over and over again. And every time I measured, and I had to take 5 centimeters and make the bodice shorter. Even though that seemed kind of crazy, but I did it anyway. And now the bodice is so short. After doing that, it looks really bad. So, and then it's also like the skirt doesn't, I guess I didn't do the gathers evenly, and the color's not really that good on me. I don't know what happened here. I'm keeping it around in hopes that one day I'll figure it out, but it's just, it just didn't really work. I like this pattern, I think. Fergus, here he is. But yeah, I'll show you, and you'll see in the clip of me trying it on, trying to make it work. But yeah, it was so disappointing because I like this fabric. It's very autumnal, but it just falls off my shoulders and it's like very open in the chest. It's also quite long. A lot of the Les Perlines patterns are long, which is fine because there's also a short version, but I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. And I think if I made it again in a different fabric, it might work for me, but this was such a lot of effort that I'm taking a break. The final thing that I sewed this summer was a toile for a wedding guest dress that I made to go to a wedding last month. The pattern is the Heat Waves dress by Les Perlines, and it's this really nice puff sleeve dress with an elastic panel at the back and this little gathering detail at the bust. I just thought it was so cute. And I had quite a lot of fabric left over from the second toile of the midi skirt that I was talking about earlier that I had made. It's a fabric called Peach Skin, and it's a polyester. It's quite inexpensive and apparently very sturdy, and it feels quite nice. Like, it looks quite plush. It's sort of difficult to describe. It's got a sheen, and I have it in this emerald green color. So like with this top, I had enough of the fabric from when I had made the bias skirt that I was able to cut all of the pieces that I needed out of just around the edges of that fabric. So here's the version that I made. I'll put in a clip of me trying it on. It's got a panel, elastic panel at the back, and I just used some other fabric that I had like little pieces of for the lining. It's a midi length, although there is a shorter length with a ruffle at the bottom as an option in the pattern. And it's this lined bodice with these seams down the front. Are those princess seams? I don't really know. And puffy sleeves that you do elastic with, and a drawstring down the middle. I found the pattern instructions really clear and easy to follow, and I found that when I finished it, the elastic panel at the back, which is done with shirring, was not tight enough at all. It was like way too big, and that the bodice looked really short on me. Also, the skirt that I made looked horrible. My vertical lines were puckering. I'm not sure if it was the needle or if I don't know what I did wrong, but it looked really bad. And the pattern has a paneled skirt where the front is made out of 3 parts, and then you can add a slit to it if you want. So I sewed that. It's really cool. It was great to learn how to make a dress with a slit in it. Very interesting for me because I'd always wondered about that. Yeah, but it looked horrible. So I took the skirt off. Then I took the bodice apart and I took out the shirred panel at the back. And I put in a panel that I shirred with elastic, like not elastic thread, but 1/4 inch elastic. And I made it longer than the original panel. And then I added a strip around the waist that was about 1.5 inches long. And I tried that. And the elasticated panel at the back helped a lot. I don't know if the fabric is just kind of thick and hard to work with, and that's why the shirring didn't work, or if it just wasn't working for me. So I took out the skirt. I took out the panel that I had made elongating the bodice. I cut off the bottom of the elasticated back panel, and I attached the toile of the bias cut midi skirt that I had made, which was just okay. Like, it was fine, but I thought it would be better use as the skirt for this dress so that the dress could be finished. And I replaced the original skirt, which didn't really work, with the bias cut midi skirt that I had made earlier. So here's the panel at the back that I did. I just made these channels, and then into every other one I put in a piece of 1/4 inch elastic. And that is what I did. That's how I finished this dress. I have a big mirror in here. This is my office, and I didn't realize it until recently, but it's quite significantly warped. It makes everything look much wider, and I didn't know until recently. I just thought that I thought that I'd gotten quite wide recently, which, you know, whatever. But I've been putting on this dress and looking in the mirror the whole time, and I was thinking, I look exactly like Princess Fiona from Shrek. I'm just not green. But when I wear this dress, I look exactly like her. So I decided, I filed it in the back of my mind, that I would wear this for Halloween and be Princess Fiona. And last weekend I did. I will put in a picture here. I did not take any good pictures, but I did that and it was awesome. So even though the dress is not, I mean, there's a lot of pretty rough sewing areas, which I got better at, and in the version that I made for the wedding guest dress, that version came out really good because I had spent so long on this one, like learning all the techniques and ripping out and redoing it. But I still got to wear this one to a party, and it was great. My block has a very intense Halloween party and everyone dresses up. And then there was another party that my boyfriend and I were going to after, which was not a costume party, but we were green and we went anyway. And we were green, but it was fine. I enjoyed being green. There's a certain power to wearing a good Halloween costume. So the dress has a very happy ending. I really like the design, and I like the Les Perlines patterns. I mean, I'd recommend them if that's your style. I've made 3 of them now, and they've all been good. I don't blame the designer for this dress not working out. I think that's my fault, poor fabric choice, and it's nothing to do with the design. So that is my first season of sewing this summer. I've had so much fun, a lot of frustration, and a lot of satisfaction from learning how to sew clothes. I really enjoy wearing the things that I make. I can't really see myself buying anything that I could make in the foreseeable future. And now I still love to go around the shops, but I'm always looking and thinking of like ways that I would make it, what I would do differently. My background in knitting so I've had a bit of a taste for that, because I basically would never buy a store-bought jumper just because I make them and I have so many of them at this point. Why would I? But I'm getting that way with other stuff too now, and it's really fun. Having such a good time. Trying not to get into shoemaking because that would be bad for me. But I see the videos of people making their own shoes and I kind of want to do it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. It's been quite long and very rambly, and I'm sure I'll add in all of the clips. And I guess I'll do that right now, like try everything on so I can add the clips in. This jumper, that I made this, it's the Yanni jumper. It's a sort of sweatshirty style designed by Tet Besh Knitwear that I think I made about 2 years ago. I can't believe it. No, 1.5 years ago. Made it 1.5 years ago. And I've been sewing this autumn. I made a video about what I had planned on sewing, and I've made almost everything from that list. Plus, I'm going to a black tie wedding in 2 weeks, and I'm working on sewing a jumpsuit to wear to that. So I'm sure that in a few weeks I'll make another video about sewing, and definitely at the end of the autumn I will update you on what I sewed in the autumn. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. It has been such a pleasure to talk through everything that I've been sewing, and I hope that you're having a really good day. And Fergus and I, who has been on my lap this whole time, say goodbye.